Do, do, do. Oh, hello. Welcome to the Comics Workshop Studio. It is day 3, I believe, of our Vacation Week Comics Camp. It's the end of the year. We're making a ton of books. I'm Merrick Bennett, and my website is merrickbennett.com. And thank you to my patrons over on the Patreon for making this year of amazing comics in a very crazy year, making everything possible here. And thanks to Kimball Jenkins School of Art for hosting us this week. I was so glad they wanted to offer some classes to people. So we're over there live on their Facebook page now, if I got the connections right. And just to review, we are taking little 3x5 index cards. There's 3 index cards right here. When I fold them up, I get a 3x4 or 12-page book, little mini book. They're just folded cards at the moment, but they will become a book momentarily. I like to take a colored card. Oh, we got purple this morning. I don't think I've made a purple book yet this week. Take purple. We'll wrap it around as a cover. That's starting to look like a book now, right? And then we pull in a stapler. This is my long arm stapler. It staples up to 12 inches into any huge book you might be making, but we don't need it that deep here. We just need it 2.5 inches deep. So it puts a staple right on the spine. Remember, we staple them cover side up, so the sharp teeth of the staple are safely tucked inside the book there. And then you go to town with a pencil if you like to start and plan out your story. If you like the high tightrope walking without a net approach, you just start with a pen and you start writing. Actually, that's what I'm going to do today, because that's kind of my attitude. It's the end of 2020. It's the last week of the year. I'm just going to make up stories and see what happens. So just to review, actually, I'm going to give you a little tour today. And then I think I'll come back on later and work on 1 or 2 books and see them through to the end. So we can draw together a bunch today. You can join anytime. Please share the link around, encourage your friends to join, and draw some books with us. Because as we saw on day 1, just to review, we went into this book and we started doing chapters. And we weren't worried about what the chapter said, because we know that when people pick up these books and start reading, they're going to use their imagination to make a connection. So we had chapter 1. Well, once there was a mouse that was sitting on a table and writing little books and thinking all these thoughts and ideas. And the mouse had so many thoughts of ideas that chapter 2, all the books started piling up. And that's where I'm at right now. I have all these books piled up on my desktop here. And so then this was the other component of our week, right? The mouse starts decorating boxes. So I have my box here that we started decorating together yesterday, my library box, right? You see there's a golden bunny on top reading a book. I have to finish the shingles and the siding, and I have to figure out what's on the back beside the book delivery door. And when I open it up, I can store all my books inside it. And that's what we're doing this week, is we're creating an entire library full of stories and books, right? So, okay, today I thought we'd take a quick little tour of kinds of books you can do. And I even wrote down a little list here. So our first book that we've already seen is chapter books. And I actually have an example of a book that's coming together here. So once you've made a few, I recommend making, a bunch of these little blank books and keeping them handy, so that when you want to Zoom meet or actually meet with friends or family, if you can meet safely, then you can draw together. Right? And these are really fun to draw together if you have a desk cam like I do, or if you just draw and then show it to your webcam and you share your work that way. So I want to take a look at a quick chapter book that's in progress. It's called Curse of the Werewolf's Accordion. And this was one we started doing the other night. I posted a page over on the Patreon. So you can write a title down if you have a title in mind. You can put it on the cover, or you can wait until later and do the cover later. I left a little title page on this one. I actually started chapter 1 here, and I gave my chapter 1 a title, and then I gave it a little illustration. So the form of the micro book chapter book, I find it works well to do 1 or 2 pages of what would be story that you have to read the story into and make up as you go, and then 1 page that's an illustration. I keep the illustrations pretty frequent. So probably here, if this is chapter 1, an unwelcome surprise. And it looks like there's a cupcake and the party goers don't look too happy. Something happens to kick off this story that's a surprise. And maybe in chapter 2, we see the repercussions of that. So we'll just start right in here. I'm inking a little more carefully than the other day, because I'm actually following the form that I've already set up in chapter 2. Whoops, I don't want, oh, see, I'm talking and inking at the same time. Chapter 2, I can fix that. I started writing 1. I wanted to write 2. We'll make it a bunch of exclamation marks. Now chapter 2 has to be super exciting because I made a mistake there. If I want to, I can patch it over. I can white it out later. Let's see. Chapter 1, an unwelcome surprise. Chapter 2, what's our title going to be for chapter 2? I see people, we have a couple people out here this morning. If you have a suggestion for a title for chapter 2, feel free to jump in and make comments and suggestions. We're just drawing together this week, and people will be joining us later. If you're joining us later and watching this video afterwards, that's great. You can still make suggestions and things. I will be checking the comments, and I'm looking for suggestions all week because this is our collaborative Comics Camp week. Something happens when we draw things together. I'm going to need help maybe coming up with a cover illustration. I have a little space there. While I'm thinking of a chapter 2 title, I might go back and I'll make my little title page here, and we'll make it kind of fancy, just like I've seen in other books. They have a nice title page with the author's name. Maybe we'll make it kind of curly Q writing. The curse of the, and it's kind of nice when you make these books. It's slow work. I mean, it's fast if you're writing an entire book in one sitting, but it gives you time to sort of slow down and hang out together. I find when I'm drawing them with people, like drawing with you right now, I'm kind of thinking of the people around me and thinking of the work a little differently. I'm drawing for people I care about. Or if I'm drawing this as a gift, I can work in some things. Like maybe I'm thinking of, I don't know, the first thing that comes to mind, I think I'll do like little vines. Maybe there's like little vines wrapped around here. Now, of course, if you write, let me come back to this. I have an idea for chapter 2, but let me just finish this. If you write The Curse of the Werewolf's Accordion, and then you draw a werewolf with an accordion, I mean, that's pretty literal, you know? And I kind of like that if you write a title like The Curse of the Werewolf's Accordion, and then you draw something that's a little different, that's going to add, maybe we put like a flower here. I don't know exactly what a wolfsbane flower looks like, but something kind of mythological and a little different. Then the picture can kind of add some meaning to the text. That's what I go for in these chapter books, is that the illustrations don't just show, you know, you write chapter 1, a ham sandwich, and you draw somebody eating a ham sandwich. Well, yeah, okay, that's literal, but it's not necessarily going to stimulate the reader's imagination and cause them to imagine stories that we might never have imagined otherwise. So maybe we do like something a little cryptic here. I like this sort of mummy skull heart idea, and maybe like something sprouting and leafy. And what else could we put in here? A tragic melody. Oh, that sounds interesting. In X number of chapters. I'm not sure how many chapters this book will have. Whoop, chapters, careful, inking and talking. I wouldn't recommend inking and talking to talking to a Facebook page at the same time, right? As you make these. Once we're done here, I like to unplug a little, and if I'm drawing with people, I hang out with them. I don't have devices on. I don't have my Facebook thing on. You are my people to draw with right now. So this is our drawing club. This is our comics camp. But it does take your full attention. I could do an about the author or other books by this author. I'm not sure. I haven't made up an author's name, but you can bet I'm going to make up an author's name for this one. And feel free to suggest any authors' names. We could do other books by this author in here. Then we'll jump right into chapter 1, an unwelcome surprise. Chapter 2 will be, there's going to be, maybe we'll call it Drums of the Hunt. And we'll have a drummer here. I said I got an idea for chapter 2 when I mentioned drawing with people and thinking of them and working them into your story. I just had this image. I was thinking, okay, I won't draw an accordion. And I had this image of my brother playing the drums the other night, or playing the cajon. So I thought maybe I'll work that in. We'll have somebody drumming in chapter 2. Now, I'm not going to draw just drums and hunters here. I'll draw something else. I'll come up with an illustration. But I know one thing. I know what the text will look like. I'm just going to do text, because then people who pick up this book can read their own story into it. And these mini books, I treat these mini books as, I've been calling them little creativity Kickstarters, that you don't have to, you can wake up early in the morning, first thing, and draw with people. You can draw late at night. You can draw after dinner with people. It's a nice activity to do. And you don't have to have a planned out story. You don't have to be like, okay, chapter 2 is where they're going to, let's figure out what the story arc is. No, you could just kind of doodle up a book. And at the end of it, if you put it in someone's hands, they can start to read it and make up a story themselves. Maybe this cupcake has something to do with what's going on in the story. Maybe it's just a detail that doesn't become part. Let's see. I'm thinking maybe there will be some. Maybe I go back to my pencil for planning here. Maybe there will be some hills and maybe like a little castle. I think any good werewolf story has a castle at some point. And maybe there's, maybe stars and a full moon rising. Right? And so I'll plan it all out, figure out what goes where, and then I'll go in and ink that. Right? So that's chapter books. This is an unfinished chapter book. I'm working on it slowly, but that's a little taste of the chapter books. Let's see, the chapter book approach. And it's kind of liberating. I hope it feels, there's my list. I hope it feels liberating that you don't have to have a fully planned out story and a book idea and a pitch and a contract, right? You can just start making these books, and they actually, especially when you draw with people, they actually make themselves. Like this one I showed you yesterday, how to eat a cookie. I just started out with a picture of a cookie, and I got a little closer and I diagrammed it, and then I figured out what are the steps. And we just sat around after dinner. There may have been some cookies involved. You do have to do research for your books. But this turned into our next category, a nonfiction book. So the nonfiction is, I actually took as a model like David Macaulay's The Way Things Work, and I wanted to have diagrams showing processes. So where's another nonfiction? This one doesn't have a cover yet, but it is a story. I'm going to switch pens here. I have a couple pens here, and for this one, I think I was using my Micron Pigma pen, which is another good kind of pen. But any kind of black ink pen will work well for these. It's a story of this crazy professor, and he's going on a journey. I haven't yet figured out exactly why or where, but he's going to land on the moon, it looks like. He's sending himself to the moon. He's bringing a bunch of stuff. I think we have to do, this is going to be nonfiction, so it's like a visual nonfiction. So the first step will be pack. Actually, the first step was going to be plan, but this professor looks like he's packing before he plans. Well, that's just how he does things. Let's see. So that means probably if he's going to pack, well, I'll see what the bag looks like. I can draw a little bag in right here with the slingshot for the launch. All right. So maybe for pack, we just give like a bag, a sack. And into that sack, we'll give it a little detail. I'm not penciling this one. I'm just kind of making it up. Into that sack, we'll put all our favorite things. I always bring like a blank book and a pen or a sketchbook and a marker. And you definitely want to bring, I actually drew a couple of the things that professor's bringing in there, things that you definitely want to take. But maybe like a skateboard, just kind of off the top of my head, make stuff up. Add these things into the pack, and this becomes like what our character is bringing, right? Maybe a hairbrush, even though he's just a stick figure. He doesn't actually have any hair. Maybe like a spare hat, a fancy hat, so that he's wearing a black hat, maybe like a fancy polka dot hat. Maybe like how about a sandwich? And maybe a sock puppet. There's our sock, there's our puppet, definitely bring that. And then we write little captions about each. Of course, it's too small to read at your screen resolution, I'm sure, but if you start to make up the story when you look at this, then that's what I'm after. You start to get a sense of who this character is that we didn't know before, this character or this process or this subject, something that we didn't know before we looked at that page, but that we do know now. So we know how he's getting there. Oh, I have to draw the sack in now. I think he's going to forget his sack of stuff, even though he packed. I do these all out of order usually. Let's see, I'm going to draw, maybe here we'll have this lovely professor, this absent-minded, ill-prepared professor. How did I draw this guy? Oh, just as a little stick figure. Okay, that's easy enough. Make the eyes, the smile. Maybe he's surrounded by books. Books about, see how I draw that book? I can draw the same kind of book as that, but I'll put the moon. And then over here, a book that's opened. The stars. He's doing some astronomical research. There we go. Maybe there's like a map. Oh, but the map is going to be, I guess he's holding the map right side up at least. And it's just covered with like little stars and planets. It's not a very useful map. Okay. And maybe, oh, I kind of like that we can draw the tabletop. I'm leaving some space around this character. He's leaning on one hand. Maybe in this hand he has a cup of hot cocoa. You definitely want to explain maybe even give the cocoa recipe here that he uses for planning sessions. There we go. Put some writing and text about planning, advice for future travelers. And you just kind of fill up that space with a little bit of, it's really imaginary information. It's hinting at imagination. Something that'll get your, whoops, I'm sorry, it's a little off the camera there. You can't see what I'm doing. All right, here's the surprising reveal. There we are with the map. I get so into drawing these things that I just get lost in the page. But that's what we can do together when we draw together, right? It's kind of nice to get lost. I see Althea says, mistakes are good, never know where they'll lead. Yes, Yeah, most mistakes, well, some mistakes are good and some mistakes are problems, but problem solving, if you approach doing art as a chance to solve problems, then in that sense, yeah, mistakes are great because they give you a chance to learn about what you're doing and discover something new. Okay, so nonfiction. We have this travel story, this travel process here. Let me make that a little bigger so that you can see my desktop there. We have this travel process where I'm not sure where it's going to lead. I'm thinking we'll have to have like an explore, encounter, and meet page, and then trying to get home, and that's going to be it. That'll be the whole story. I'm thinking it's written by this professor. I need some ideas for names, so that's available for suggestions if you have any ideas. That'll go alongside how to eat a cookie in our nonfiction category. And then what's another category that we could look at? I'm also making some diary books, and this I was inspired to do. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, here it is. So I was inspired to do like a diary journal approach by one of our campers. Little Puzzle Art posted a micro book earlier this week, first day of camp, that I really liked and that I wanted to try. So I left. I thought I'd try memories. This isn't really a journal. It's more like 2020 memories. It's the end of the year. We have all these memories from this memorable year. People have been saying, oh, I just want to forget it and get on with it. But it's kind of interesting to go back month by month maybe and say, what do I remember from like March? So I found myself doing this. I'm just taking Little Puzzle Art's approach. So thanks, Little Puzzle Art, for posting this idea. Writing on one side and then drawing on the other. And like I said before, if you're right, I ate a ham sandwich, I'm not going to draw myself eating a ham sandwich or whatever you eat, hummus and carrots. But I'm going to write something like a little memory, one idea, maybe a sentence or two, and then I'll draw something about it that adds to it. Or you can draw the thing and then write about it, whatever you want to do. But it's kind of nice to have the text and the picture together. You probably remember where you were on that Friday the 13th, and this is looking back to March. I was in a school in the middle of a residency. They say we might close down for the next 2 weeks, says one teacher. And I say, what? I can't imagine it'd be that long. Next page. I'm thinking maybe I'm just going to follow my imagination and my memory here. I drove. Did I do all caps here? I did do all caps. I drove straight home and didn't stop anywhere. Can I fit stop? I'm not penciling, so I have to be careful. It felt like nobody knew what to expect. It felt like, oh, I'm not sure what I'll put there, but I just had an idea for the picture. So I'm going to finish that thought after. I'll decide what it felt like after I see what this picture does. So I just had this idea. I just had this image of myself driving home on that Friday when the school I was at finally shut down, suddenly shut down. Here I am driving. We'll give ourselves a steering wheel. I don't have to draw the entire scene, right? I can just kind of hint at it, and hopefully you'll get what it is. Here's my hand coming up. I was about to just rub my nose or scratch my face. And I was suddenly very aware because people were saying, oh, wash your hands, keep your hands clean. School's closing down because we're concerned about germs. Wash your hands. Don't touch your face when you're out. And I'm remembering myself sitting here. I'll give myself some thought bubbles, huh? I never noticed how much I touch my face. I want to make these letters as big as they need to be, as large enough so you can read them. This is a little different from that little ... scribble writing, right? I'm actually writing so the reader can read it. But I don't want them to be, I want to leave room for the picture. Oops. I don't really have room for the radio here. I was going to have the radio be saying, wash your hands, look out, careful. But I don't think that would really fit in here. So I think I'll just put a little like music notes and cars speeding along lines. And I'm not even going to draw the landscape and everything. I'll finish this thought later. So this is just recording like what my memories are of that first week, apparently. It's not going to be the whole year. But 2020 journal, I can say March, or March 2020 journal, put a little picture on there. And that becomes a diary or a memory book. And that's really cool to share with people, especially if I do this project and you do this project, and then we swap or we share our books with each other, and we just get a sense of what's in those heads, what's in those memories, what's in those lives that we've lived. And sometimes you surprise yourself. Sometimes you notice strange things. I found myself remembering the birds outside the windows on those first few weeks we were here at the house, not going anywhere, noticing things like the birds. So I'll be working on that too. And then the other category I wanted to highlight today before we end is the jam approach, the jam comic. And we already saw that the other day with this Boxheads family that my nephew started. So, oh no, I was thinking of a different one. This one, he's doing all on his own, and he's drawing this is a nonfiction book all about these little box-headed creatures that he's working on. The one I was thinking of, is it here in our library? Oh no, it's not here. Well, I'll show you a different one. All right. So the books, the jam approach is you draw some piece and you pass it off to somebody else. Like this one, The Potato is the title of this book. And my niece drew this, and then she passed it off to me. And I thought, well, in this case, I will actually draw a potato, but I'll make it a fancily dressed potato. And then we went back and forth. She would write a few words, and then I would draw some characters on. And then it looks like a couple of us were drawing into here. And this just turned into, it's absurd, it's silly, but we had the best time making this totally silly book where there is no story, but crazy things keep happening, which is kind of, sometimes life feels that way. No story, but crazy things keep happening. And we just, it was such a fun thing, fun time, fun project to work on. Here's another one I started, Champion Monsters of the Eldritch Shadowlands and Their Pets, published by the Monster Recreational Association. And this one, as you can see, it went around the table and different people drew a monster and the monster's pet. And there's all sorts of different creatures in here. This one actually started crossing over. You can see we started putting in names and captions. Actually, these names started going in. So what I'm going to start doing with this one is take this jam idea, and it's going to cross over into nonfiction. Who knows, maybe it'll become a chapter book, something about each of these creatures. But we might go in here and take one of these creatures in the space that we have and give it a diagram and some informational captions, just like we did with the nonfiction book, right? And we might add a couple captions in here, little sidebar box about different aspects of these pets. I think this one champion monster raises all these little critters. I'm not sure what they're called. You could even make up your own language, make up your own alphabet, and create a book in a totally different language. Maybe like there's a monster script that could be used here. Maybe this, I'm not sure what this detail is, but it looks kind of interesting. And maybe that's a key part of this monster. So now we have a jam comic that has turned into, that looks like an information-rich nonfiction page. So we'll do that with each of these pages. We'll go through these monsters. Looks like somebody already added a map in there. Maybe at the very end, we'll have like a series of champion trophies. Looks like we have a volcano on the back page. And then this becomes this collaboratively drawn group effort. It's crossed over from jam into nonfiction. We'll work a whole bunch of different stories into these books. So great. I'm gonna come back later on today and work on these. I also have, maybe we'll do a little session where we add some more to these library boxes. Remember, we had our model box, which was the tiny little bite-sized library. We're going to fill that up with books. We've got this one. I'm thinking tomorrow we'll actually make one of these boxes that is a monster, a New Year's Eve monster box. And we'll look at how to actually turn one of these boxes into a little friend who can sit on the shelf and eat. I mean, keep safe all your books for you. So we'll be doing that over the course of the next couple of days. And then we're on into 2021. Lovely to draw with you this morning, everybody. Thanks for stopping by. Spread the word. Let me pop the website back up there. And I have notes and pics from all these if you want to head over to the Patreon. A bunch of the posts are public, but then if you sign up there and become a patron at any level, you get all the updates and all the emails and all the special offers and stuff. So, and the patron only things. So that's a lot of fun too. All right. Thanks to Kimball Jenkins for hosting this. Thanks to all of you for joining us and for your comments. Oh, and one last thing. I am looking for suggestions. What do you want to do for our library box building tomorrow? Should it be a monster? Should it be another kind of creature? I don't know. What do you think? Let's get some suggestions. I'll put a little poll out on the Patreon for that. And one after the last thing, a little glimpse of what else I'm working on, because you guys inspired me after we were drawing and building libraries together yesterday. I kind of shut everything down last night after the last live draw, and I went outside. And my brother came over and he said, "Have you seen the moon?" And I went outside, and this full moon was coming up through the trees. Maybe that's why I'm thinking of Curse of the Werewolf's Accordion, because this full moon was coming up through the trees, and it was so bright on the snow, the first moon of winter, that it actually looked like daylight. It was like yellow sunshine, golden sunshine in the trees. And I came back in and I shut everything off and I disconnected things, and I just started drawing, and I started working on, this is turning into a picture for my summer reading programs. And that full moon, yeah, it was amazing. Susan saw the moon, huh? Yes, so that full moon like inspired me suddenly to start working on a picture for my summer reading programs for libraries. And so this started out, as a blank page with some pencil marks. And then over the next couple hours, it turned into a moonlit adventure. I'm going to post, I did step-by-step pics of each color as I added it. So I'm going to post the little step-by-step, like a little comic strip style process too. And that will be over on the Patreon. And then you'll see, and then you'll also see the final product out on my website for the summer reading programs. So thank you, everybody. Lovely to see you this morning. Keep drawing, keep making those books. Post pictures of your books and post pictures of your libraries. And I really am done now. Thank you so much. Holly, I'm enjoying it too. Nice to draw with you. See you folks later.